The challenge doesn't arrive like a fight. It arrives like a sentence, a studio backroom, or a private training floor, one of those places that smells like old canvas and stale air, where the noise is usually small and practical. Shoes on rubber, tape being torn, a fan pushing warm air in circles, men moving through drills they've done so many times their faces don't change. Bruce Lee is there the way people later describe him in stories like this. Not performing, not presenting, just present. Plain training clothes, hands loose, a calm posture that reads, to the wrong kind of person, like permission. Then the bodyguard walks in, not angry, not loud at first, just certain, the kind of man who's used to rooms rearranging themselves when he enters, thick through the shoulders, forearms that look practiced at moving people without asking. He watches Bruce for a moment the way professionals watch movement, measuring, deciding. Someone in the room recognizes the social shape of what's happening and goes very still. The bodyguard speaks so everyone can hear, casual enough to pretend it's nothing, but aimed enough that the room becomes a jury. You can't handle real power. It lands because it's designed to land. It doesn't insult Bruce's character, it insults his legitimacy. It draws a clean border, real men who control bodies, and a man who's only learned to look dangerous for cameras. Training doesn't stop immediately, but the rhythm breaks. A glove pauses mid-air, a foot hesitates. People keep their faces neutral while their bodies angle for a better view. Bruce doesn't react the way the sentence wants him to react. No flair, no smile, no argument. He closes the distance, just one step, quiet and unhurried, as if he's removing space from the conversation. And in that small step, the room understands something it can't say out loud yet. The next few seconds will decide who owns the meaning of the word power. In places like this, the fight is rarely the point. The point is what the room will remember afterward. A bodyguard doesn't carry his reputation in trophies or newspaper clippings. He carries it in the way people adjust when he gets close. In the small habits of obedience, someone moving a chair without being asked, someone lowering their voice, someone choosing not to meet his eyes. His currency is compliance. That's what he means by real power. Not speed, not technique, not artistry. The simple ability to make another person's options smaller. And in his mind, a man like Bruce is a symbol that threatens the border. A symbol that teaches people the wrong lesson. That control can be elegant, that a smaller frame can still dictate terms, that violence can be measured and intelligent instead of heavy and obvious. If Bruce stands there and accepts the insult, the bodyguard walks out with the room in his pocket. If Bruce fights on the bodyguard's terms, clinching, shoving, trading strength, then the bodyguard gets the proof he came for. The myth has to step into the mud, and the mud favors size. That's why these encounters become legends even when no camera is present. Because the stakes are social, and social stakes don't need paperwork. The men watching understand it instinctively. They're not thinking about injuries yet. They're thinking about the story that will attach itself to this building. They're thinking about what gets repeated in locker rooms and hallways when someone wants to establish themselves. They know how fast a narrative can spread when it sounds like correction. The bodyguard, for his part, tries to keep it in that private, ugly category. No gloves, no rounds, no, let's do it properly. He wants something that can't be negotiated, a moment. He stands a little closer now, shoulders relaxed, hands low like he has all day. His eyes stay on Bruce's center line, the way men do when they believe they can rush and smother anything they don't understand. His posture says, I will decide when this starts. Bruce doesn't mirror him. He doesn't adopt a guard to satisfy the bodyguard's idea of seriousness. His hands remain open, loose, as if he's holding air. He looks less like a man preparing to fight and more like a man preparing to move. That difference unsettles the room more than a raised fist would, because it refuses the bodyguard's script. And now the coach, who hasn't said a word, does something that matters. He doesn't step in, he doesn't break it up. He lets the space remain open. Silence becomes permission. The bodyguard takes half a step forward, as if to prove he can push Bruce backward on contact alone. And Bruce, still calm, doesn't step back. He steps slightly to the side, just enough to make the line uncertain. The bodyguard moves the way big men often move when they believe the exchange will be simple. He reaches first. Not a careful jab, not a test, a direct claim. His hand angles for the shoulder seam, the collar, the upper arm, anything that turns this from timing into clinch, from choice into pressure. In his world, once you make contact, the rest is just physics. The reach is quick for someone his size. That's part of why he's dangerous. He's not only heavy, he's practiced at arriving. Bruce shifts before the grip becomes real. Not a leap, not a theatrical dodge, just a short adjustment of torso and hips, like stepping around something on the floor. The bodyguard's fingers brush fabric instead of finding control. For a fraction of a second, he has nothing. That small miss changes the air in the room. People who understand fighting feel it the way you feel a door not latch. A big man reaching and failing means the big man has to chase. And chasing is where weight starts costing interest. The bodyguard reaches again, harder this time, stepping in with his mass behind the arm, as if force can replace precision. Bruce doesn't retreat straight back. He slides laterally, refusing to give the clean corridor that makes pressure easy. His feet are quiet, no stomping, no dramatic pivots, just constant measured adjustment. The bodyguard pivots to track him, and pivoting is where size confesses itself. Bruce touches first, not a heavy strike, not a movie punch, a quick contact to the lead arm, enough sting to remind the bodyguard that reaching carries a price. Then another touch higher near the shoulder, a place fighters hate being handled because it makes the whole upper body feel steered. The bodyguard grunts, annoyed. His face says, "Is that all?" He crowds in again and finally catches something. Bruce's sleeve, a wrist, a scrap of fabric. The grip is imperfect, but in the bodyguard's mind, imperfect is still victory. He yanks, expecting Bruce to stumble into him, expecting the smaller body to become furniture. Bruce doesn't stumble. He steps in at an angle, keeping his base under him, letting the pull slide past his center instead of through it. The bodyguard's own force becomes misdirected. His feet have to correct, just a few inches, but inches matter because nothing embarrasses a strong man faster than realizing he can be moved. The bodyguard tries to fix it the way he knows how. Pressure. He lowers his shoulder and drives, forearm across Bruce's chest, trying to pin him and turn speed into suffocation. For a moment, the room tightens. If the bodyguard wraps both arms, the exchange becomes squeezing, and squeezing doesn't care about timing. Bruce's breathing stays steady. He turns his head slightly, not away, just enough to see the line of the bodyguard's feet. Then he does something that looks too simple to be an answer. He steps short and sharp to the side of the pressure, where the force isn't aimed. His hips rotate as he moves, shoulder slipping past shoulder. The bodyguard has to pivot again, trying to square up, trying to bring his mass back into the fight. He swings an arm wide, a warning more than a punch, meant to make Bruce respect distance. Bruce is already inside that arc. A compact hit to the body, a second touch higher, dry contact sounds. The bodyguard's smile disappears, and in its place, something else begins. Not fear. Problem solving. He commits again, both arms now, trying to end uncertainty by capturing it. The bodyguard opens his arms wide, stepping in with the confidence of gravity. He wants ribs under his forearms. He wants hands locked behind the back. He wants the room to watch the myth get crushed by something simple and undeniable. Not skill, not finesse, just weight, leverage, and the fact that air can be taken. He commits fully, because half commitment is what gets you embarrassed. Bruce waits until that commitment is total, until the bodyguard's momentum is already decided. Then Bruce drops his center just a fraction and steps outside the lead foot. Not a deep crouch, not a dramatic level change, just a sink and a shift, an adjustment you barely notice until it's already done. The bodyguard's arms close on air. His momentum carries him one heavy step forward. Recovery, for a big man, is not instant. There is always a gap between intention and correction, and Bruce lives in that gap. He's beside the bodyguard now, not in front. That position changes everything. From the side, mass becomes slower to aim. From the side, grabbing becomes reaching across your own body. Bruce touches the face quickly, more like a check than a punch, just enough to force a blink. In the same beat, his other hand guides the shoulder, steering the line of the body away from him. It looks almost polite, but it turns the bodyguard's next movement into a stumble. Not a fall, a stumble, the soft skid of a shoe, the small clumsy sound of weight correcting itself. In a room like this, that sound is loud. It's an announcement the bodyguard didn't consent to make. Training has fully stopped now. Even the people pretending not to watch are watching. The air has changed. It's thinner. Everyone is listening for what happens next. The bodyguard pivots back, a fast turn for someone his size, and for a moment it almost works. He squares up just enough to feel the old confidence return. Almost isn't enough. Bruce lands another compact strike to the body, the kind that steals comfort and breath without looking cinematic. The bodyguard's mouth opens and closes once, like a man testing whether air still behaves normally. He reaches again, hands grasping for fabric like a drowning man reaching for a rope. The grip finds sleeve, not structure. Bruce circles his wrist and the hand loses meaning. It's contact without control. The bodyguard is holding him the way a child holds a bird feather. His expression changes. It's no longer amused. It's confusion. The dawning realization that strength is not being allowed to express itself, that the room he walked into is not accepting his definition of power. He tries a different tactic, a shove, a drive. He leans in hard, trying to walk Bruce backward. For a second, it looks like it might work, because weight is weight, and weight always gets a vote. Bruce doesn't resist head-on. He angles again, half-step, diagonal line, turning the force into a direction where he isn't. The bodyguard's drive goes where Bruce was. The bodyguard has to chase the space, and chasing is the trap. Chasing means moving your feet. Moving your feet means exposing balance. Exposing balance means giving Bruce the only thing he needs, an instant where you're not fully yours. Bruce steps in close enough that the bodyguard can feel him but can't grab cleanly, and delivers another short hit, then another. Not movie strikes, not exaggerated, quick, tight, efficient. The bodyguard's breathing changes, his chest rises higher, his shoulders lift. He's spending energy now, not on offense, but on recovery, on trying not to be publicly taught. He backs a half step without meaning to, then catches himself and steps forward again, determined to restore the story he arrived with. But determination doesn't restore timing. And timing is what Bruce has been taking from him piece by piece without ever looking rushed. The bodyguard tries to reset the way men reset when their first plan stops working. He widens his stance, lowers his center, brings his hands higher. The arrogance thins into caution, and caution, ironically, makes him slower, because now every movement checks itself halfway. He is no longer arriving. He is negotiating. He feints a reach, then commits again, trying to herd Bruce toward the edge of the mat where space will be limited. That's a real tactic. Big men win when they make the room smaller. Bruce doesn't let the room become small. He slides along the edge of pressure, always giving the bodyguard just enough access to keep him reaching, never enough to let him settle. Bruce's footwork stays quiet, not the bouncing of a showman, the constant correction of someone who understands that position is oxygen. The bodyguard lunges and Bruce angles off, touching the face again, an interrupting tap that forces eyes to blink and the mind to flinch. It isn't about damage, it's about breaking rhythm. The bodyguard hates it because it makes him feel handled. He finally lands something meaningful. A forearm brushes Bruce's shoulder, a shove that bumps him slightly. The room tenses because contact always feels like the beginning of control. But the contact does not become a hold. Bruce absorbs it, shifts, and recenters instantly. The shove lands like a sentence that doesn't change the outcome. The bodyguard tries to follow with both hands, and that follow is the mistake. Now he is committing forward with his weight again, and Bruce has been waiting for committed weight since the first second. Bruce steps just outside the lead foot and turns. The motion is small. The effect is large. The bodyguard's shoulder rotates into an angle it didn't intend. His hips lag behind. His balance breaks by inches, and inches are enough. Bruce lands a compact strike to the body, deeper this time, clean, controlled. The kind that steals breath without looking theatrical. The bodyguard's chest expands, then pauses like a machine, stuttering. He tries to swallow the discomfort and push forward anyway. But pushing forward while regaining breath is a negotiation the body doesn't like. His hands reach slower now, heavier. His guard is still up, but it's being held up by effort, not certainty. The bodyguard is still strong, but strength has started to become expensive. Bruce stays close, denying recovery distance. He lands another short strike, then exits a half step, then re-enters. The bodyguard tries to start an attack, reach, shove, clinch, but it never begins cleanly. Every start is interrupted. Every plan is cut while it's still forming. And now the bodyguard's eyes flick down to Bruce's feet. That's a sign. When a man who trusts power starts watching feet, it means the hands are no longer telling the truth. It means he's trying to understand why the target keeps slipping without looking like it's slipping. Bruce touches the face again. Another small interrupt. The bodyguard blinks, angry at himself for blinking. He tries to answer with a wide swing meant to reassert threat, but Bruce is already inside the arc and out again. A trainee in the circle exhales sharply without meaning to, not cheering, disbelief. The bodyguard hears it. He knows what it means. He tries to restore control with one last push, step in, frame, throw, trying to force Bruce to either trade or run. Bruce does neither. He guides the line again. Check, angle, short contact, then another compact strike to the body, not a knockout, a correction. And in the bodyguard's posture, the answer begins to show before he admits it. His hands drop a fraction, not surrender for the room's sake, but because his body has reached a cost limit. Continuing would mean risking something worse than losing, being visibly dismantled. For a moment, the bodyguard stands there, chest rising, hands hovering uncertainly. Not because he's finished, but because the room is forcing him to decide what kind of man he wants to be next. Double down and risk being taught again, or accept the lesson and keep his dignity intact. He chooses the first. One more attempt to reclaim the story. It isn't the explosive rush from earlier. It's a stubborn push, the kind a man makes when pride is heavier than breath. He steps in, forearms ready, trying to smother angles and turn this into shoulders, pressure, and friction. Bruce lets him close. That's what confuses people who don't fight. They expect avoidance to look like distance. Bruce's avoidance looks like proximity, with control. He stays close enough that the bodyguard believes he can finally grab cleanly. Then Bruce shifts off the line again with that same quiet precision. The bodyguard's hands close on air. His feet scrape as he pivots. His balance is no longer confident. It's managed. He is spending his strength now not to dominate, but simply to keep the exchange from becoming a public lesson again. Bruce steps in one more time and delivers a clean, compact strike to the body. Controlled, practical, unmistakable. It's not meant to injure for spectacle. It's meant to answer the only question that matters in a serious room. Can the bodyguard impose his world on this man? He cannot. The bodyguard's hands drop, not in surrender for the room's sake, but because his body has reached its cost limit. Continuing would mean risking something worse than losing, being visibly dismantled. And the silence afterward is thick. No one claps, no one laughs. Training spaces like this don't celebrate public correction. Adding noise would make it cruel, and everyone knows the humiliation is already enough. The bodyguard swallows and looks at Bruce again. The swagger is gone. What remains is confusion, and under it, reluctant respect. He speaks quieter than he did at the start. You're fast. It isn't praise, it's diagnosis. The simplest explanation his mind can reach for, the kind of explanation that lets him keep his identity intact. Bruce nods once, calm, almost polite. It's not speed, Bruce says. And the men closest lean in because the room has shifted back into a classroom without anyone announcing it. The bodyguard looks down at his own hands, like they've betrayed him. He flexes his fingers once, opens and closes them slowly, as if confirming they still belong to him. It's timing, Bruce says. The word sits in the air heavier than a punch. Timing. The bodyguard replays the exchange in his head, not the strikes, but the gaps. The moments where he thought he was about to begin, and something small stopped him before it became real. The taps, the checks, the angle changes that made his strength feel like it was being aimed at empty space. The bodyguard takes one step back, then another. He turns away from the mat. He walks out the way corrected men walk out when they're trying not to give the room the satisfaction of watching them break, not running, not raging, just leaving slower than he arrived. And after a few seconds, the gym breathes again. Gloves lift. Feet begin moving. The steady rhythm returns in fragments, but it isn't the same rhythm, because every person in that circle has watched a definition of power collapse without a dramatic finish. They watched it leak away in small, quiet moments. The gym doesn't celebrate. It doesn't even move at first. People stand the way people stand after something socially dangerous has ended, waiting to make sure it's really over, waiting to see if the challenger is going to turn back and demand one more sentence, one more shove, one more chance to rewrite what just happened. The bodyguard pauses near the edge of the room. His shoulders rise and fall once. His hands open and close like he's trying to tell his nervous system that the situation is finished. But pride is rarely finished on time. He turns back, not with the loud swagger from the entrance, with something smaller and tighter, a look that says, I can't leave like this. He steps forward as if he's going to force one final exchange, just enough contact to make the story sound different later. The circle stiffens. A few men shift their weight, ready to intervene if it becomes ugly. The coach's face stays neutral, but his eyes are awake now. Bruce doesn't move toward him. He doesn't retreat either. He stands where he is, relaxed in a way that looks almost disrespectful if you don't understand what it takes to stay relaxed while danger is still possible. His hands remain open. His posture says if you want to restart it, you will have to choose it fully. The bodyguard steps in and reaches again, a half-commitment grab that tries to reclaim control without risking another obvious failure. He gets closer than before. His forearm brushes Bruce's chest. His shoulder presses in. For a moment, it looks like the bodyguard might finally get what he wanted from the beginning, contact that turns into pressure. Bruce shifts, not away, around. A short diagonal step that changes the angle of the bodyguard's drive. The pressure goes into space again. The bodyguard has to correct, and correction is where the lesson lives. The bodyguard's feet scrape the mat. The sound is small, but it carries. It's the sound of a large man adjusting. Bruce checks the arm, light contact, and then lands a single compact strike to the body. Controlled, clean, not a flourish, not a punishment, a final period at the end of a sentence. And that's when the room understands, not in theory, in their bodies. They understand that power isn't a thing you possess, it's a thing the other person allows you to use. The bodyguard had power over most rooms because most rooms yielded. Bruce didn't yield, and without that permission, the bodyguard's strength became effort without outcome. The bodyguard stops, his hands lower just slightly. He looks at Bruce again, and this time there's no attempt to perform certainty. He looks like a man who has met a kind of control he doesn't have. He nods once, small, reluctant. Not apology, not friendship, acknowledgement. Then he turns away for real and walks out. The gym stays quiet until the door closes. Only after it closes do people move again. A man exhales. Someone picks up gloves that were dropped without noticing. Another returns to the bag and starts hitting it softly, not to show anything, but to get his own nervous system back into a normal rhythm. The coach finally speaks, low voice, not for drama. Back to work. Training resumes like it always does, repetition, breath, sweat, because serious places don't turn lessons into ceremonies. But the story is already forming in the room the way private challenges always form. In glances, in half-sentences, in the details men choose to repeat because they want the meaning to stay intact. Not that Bruce beat him, that Bruce didn't even let him start. And that, in a room full of men who think they understand power, is the kind of thing that lasts. The room doesn't talk about it right away. That's another detail that makes stories like this believable. People in serious training spaces don't rush to narrate what they've just seen because narrating it too quickly turns it into theater. They go back to work instead. They let sweat and repetition bury the sharp edge of the moment. But even as the gym returns to its rhythm, gloves tapping, feet sliding, breath settling, something has shifted underneath. A few men keep stealing glances toward the open mat, as if the space itself has changed. Someone adjusts a wrap on his wrist and looks down at his own hands, not because anything is wrong with them, but because he's thinking about what hands can and can't do when the other person refuses to be where you want them. Bruce doesn't stand in the center like a winner. He doesn't collect attention. He doesn't posture. If anything, he looks like a man who has finished solving a problem and is already moving on to the next. Calm, almost quiet. The way he often is in the most credible versions of these stories, more teacher than celebrity. That's the final rehook the room didn't expect. Because the bodyguard came in demanding a performance of dominance, and what he received was something colder and less negotiable, a demonstration that dominance is conditional. Most men confuse power with pressure. They confuse it with size, with the ability to shove someone backward, with the certainty that if contact happens, control will follow. Bruce's correction was the opposite. He showed that control can be built from denial. Denial of clean lines, denial of predictable starts, denial of the corridor where strength becomes simple. He didn't overpower the bodyguard. He made the bodyguard pay for every attempt to begin. He turned every committed step into a question, and then he answered that question with timing. That's what made the moment land without needing a dramatic finish. The bodyguard didn't lose because he was weak. He lost because he couldn't impose his world on someone who refused to live inside it. The room witnessed an uncomfortable truth. The phrase real power often means real compliance. When compliance disappears, power has to become something else. The bodyguard walked out corrected, not destroyed. That matters too. In a serious room, the goal isn't humiliation. The goal is clarity. The bodyguard arrived wanting a sentence he could carry out. He left with a different sentence, quieter, harder to brag about, but closer to reality. Timing, not speed, not magic, not mystery, just the discipline of being early by inches and refusing to donate the first beat of the exchange. And that's why, long after the door closed, nobody needed to replay the moment with excitement. They only needed to remember the feeling of it, a big man reaching and finding air.